All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Billy Wayne back again with Legacy United, a Righteous Project Inc. podcast. Here with our new guest, actually, something that I'm excited about, our content creator. But I'm going to pass it to her to let her introduce herself.
Hey everybody, my name is Rebecca Mendenhall, but y'all can call me Becca. As Billy said, I am the content director of Righteous Project Inc. I have been just kind of volunteering with this organization since the beginning, and I decided within the last few months to jump on board as an official member. So I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Billy.
Yep, thanks for being on. I'm excited as well. Definitely a lot of good stuff to share today. But as you guys know, the Legacy United is about inviting local entrepreneurs, people in the corporate world, people that earn degrees, everything like that, to share their stories about what they've gone through to get where they are today. And that's what we're going to do today here with Becca. So I'm going to pass it back your way just to share your story, and you can start wherever you like. So go ahead and take the mic there.
Awesome. Thanks again. So basically, I have a story that it's not phenomenal, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we all kind of go through our own stuff, right? There, no matter how rich you are or how poor you are, no matter who you are in this world, you're all gonna have your trials and tribulations, right? So I don't really think of my story as phenomenal or exceptional or anything like that per se, but I did grow up poor, right? So I did not grow up wealthy. I often looked around at my friends and their parents, and I saw the lack. I saw what they had versus what I didn't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I definitely did. I didn't grow up with money. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I like how you pointed that out, is that everybody's level of success or the areas or the points where they get at is different. And that doesn't mean that you didn't achieve as much as the next person just because they have a lot of money. Just those small steps, goes a long way. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. One of the things that sticks out the most for my story, if you will, is that my father, so the primary breadwinner, if you will, he was sick most of my childhood. In fact, I don't really recall a time in my childhood in which he wasn't sick. He suffered from a lot of heart issues, and my dad actually ended up passing away when I was only 16 years old.
Wow.
So there was a lot. There was a lot of turbulence in my childhood,
Right.
real talk. With a parent who is physically ill
Right.
and effectively cannot work and cannot care for you. And then my other parent, my mother, she did her best to just kind of like keep the family going as much as she could.
Of course.
But there was always that little bit of lack.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the impounding medical bills and everything like that, it really just kind of took a toll on our family when I was growing up. So obviously my parents did the best that they could with what they were given, and I definitely credit their resilience for
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
But growing up for this girl,
Yeah.
it wasn't very easy.
That's a very tough situation to go through, right? I mean, having to see that at a young age kind of makes it to where you have to take a certain role as a child that not too many kids have to take on. So I can understand how that can be extremely difficult, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was. My parents actually ended up splitting up probably when I was about 13 years old.
Okay.
So it ended up being a situation where I was the primary caregiver for my father.
Wow.
So, this poor man was just mostly bedridden, to be honest with you. He couldn't really do very much. He spent a lot of time, just kind of down and out.
Yeah.
And so as a young child, instead of, hanging out with my friends and extracurriculars in school and things like that, I'm taking care of my dad.
Right.
Because I was the only one.
Right.
I was the only one that was there. I was cleaning the house. I was cooking dinner. I was helping him put his socks on.
Wow, yeah.
Some of even like the most simple things that we take for granted, my dad needed help with.
Yeah.
And so me, this kid in like elementary, middle school,
Yeah. Wow,
I'm
okay.
I'm like a nurse for my father,
Right.
effectively. So it was definitely very interesting upbringing.
Yeah, sounds like it for sure. And where did you grow up at? Let me ask
So
you.
I grew up in tiny town, Rapid City, South Dakota.
Okay.
So it's not so tiny anymore, though. It's
Yeah.
grown quite a bit since
Okay.
I left.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a small town, Rapid City, South Dakota. So that's where I grew up, kind of in the not technically the Midwest, but the Midwest. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right. Yep. I hear you. Well, okay. So, going through everything that you were dealing with, you said elementary and middle school. That's a very young age, to go through that as well. And then, what kind of things did you continue to see, or to have you set your mind to where you wanted to motivate yourself to be who you are?
That's a solid question. There's when you really think about it, childhood trauma is so what's the word I want to say here? It has the potential to be so damaging, right? You can look out there and you can see not like numerous people who have gone through various different childhood traumas,
Yeah.
and their life story doesn't turn out the way that mine did.
Yeah. Right.
They end up taking a different path down life, and a different road, and maybe some of their choices aren't the best ones. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I consider myself to be very blessed to end up in the spot where I am today, because
Yeah.
it could have gone so much differently. I know tons and tons and tons of other people, or even youth
Yeah.
that have dealt with their fair share of difficult times in their childhood,
Right.
and they have taken a different direction than I have. So I credit a lot of my success to my community, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that it makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference the kind of people that you surround yourself with, to kind of, I don't know, launch yourself in the right direction.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's good that you pointed that out, because, and I think we spoke about this a while back, when I was going to school as well, learning about psychology, and there was a study about post traumatic stress and a thing called post traumatic growth, and people experience that differently. So some people go through certain traumatizing things as when they're young, and they either use it to grow and become a stronger person, and some people, I wouldn't say necessarily use it, but it has that impact to where they are not as fortunate to grow from those experiences, and we see those differences. And it's I have not there's nothing against it, because it's not just a mindset, but it's a certain situations where some people can't get out of it.
Right.
And we see that a lot. We do hear about PTSD a lot, and we see it often, in the community. But even pointing out that having a certain circle can help, develop and grow you as well. So I think that's important to know too. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a couple of families when I was growing up that I spent a majority of my time with, if I wasn't in my own home, and so I had a family that had a pretty secure, pretty highly religious background.
Okay.
And then I had another family that wasn't necessarily super religious, but there was a lot of love there. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of love. There was a lot of protection.
Yeah.
They never wanted for anything. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
And so I was so thankful to grow up with these people, because I think that they kind of modeled to me what a family should look like, and what dysfunction doesn't look like.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that gave me an insight of the world that I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I kind of clung to that vision of a
Okay.
family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always remembered that. Whenever things were rough,
Yeah.
whenever things weren't looking the way that they were supposed to, I always reminded myself, this doesn't have to be how it is
Right.
forever,
Right.
right? There's other people out there in the world that are doing things differently, And I can do those things differently myself
Right.
when the time is right.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Not a lot of people get that experience to where they can see on the from the outside. And that's a big deal. I mean, growing up in a certain neighborhood, certain people just stay in that neighborhood. But if they branch out or if they see different views, it goes a long way in understanding that not everything is the way it is as you thought it was. When you're growing up. So that's very, very good to share as well. So let's see here. So going through high school or even after high school, and what kind of helped you make the decision that you wanted to move, or where did that come from? Moving outside of where you grew up.
That's a solid question, and this is something that I think about regularly.
Okay.
This is something that just kind of baffles my mind all the time. Like, how did I end up where I am today? Because it's never what I expected.
Yeah.
At all. A majority of the people that I know, they just kind of stayed. They kind of stayed there in South Dakota, and nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But most of them didn't branch out, and so I kind of think about that all the time. Like, how the heck did I end up here? I met my significant other. I met my partner back when I was still living in South Dakota. And I think that was kind of one driver that kicked me out of South Dakota. He's always been a real go-getter, marches to the beat of his own drum. He does what he wants to do. And I think that kind of encouraged me for sure to not settle.
Yeah.
To just go after whatever it is that I wanted to. So I think that was a big driver for me, for sure, to leave South Dakota. And also, too, I wanted to see something different.
Yeah. I
wanted to see something different from, where I grew up. And I am so thankful that I did.
Yeah.
For sure, because the things that I have learned away from my primary support, away from my primary community that I had when I was growing up, has been so much than I would have ever learned if I stayed back in South Dakota, for sure.
Nice. Good. Well, I say that, and I'm actually that type of person that I'm born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I've yet to make that leap, but I can understand how some people are afraid to make that decision, But I do know some people that have branched out and moved to other cities as well. My sister moved to Vegas. But even like you were saying, it's hard to think back on what really made you take that jump, but the experience from that, kind of helped out as well. So that's really good to hear. Really good. So you made it here to Denver, Colorado. Was this your first place that you wanted to move to?
No, actually. So I actually lived in Montana for a few years.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So the first place that I lived outside of home, outside of Rapid City, South Dakota, was this tiny little insignificant town in Montana.
Okay.
I can't even really describe to you how small it was. I mean, we had a Walmart, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
And we had a couple of restaurants, but it was a very small town. Okay. There wasn't a lot to do there. It was really wild to me, honestly. A lot of kids would run away from home there.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah.
Really.
And apparently, I don't know if it's still the case today, but when I lived there, it had the highest methamphetamine use per capita in the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
It wasn't like the most terrible place or anything like that. I didn't see like a whole bunch of crime or anything too crazy, right? But it definitely was not an area of opportunity.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Gotcha.
If I ever wanted to grow and develop and things like that,
yep,
it wasn't really going to happen there.
Okay.
The coolest or the best job that you could have there was at a call center.
Yeah.
And not that you can't go anywhere in a call center, right? But if that is the only place, then that's going to make your chances highly competitive.
Right. Big time.
There's not a lot of room there.
Right.
When you're competing with everyone else in your age group for effectively the same job, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to go anywhere living there, but we were ultimately there as a result of the military, right?
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
It wasn't really our desire necessarily to be there, but as a result of my partner being in the military, that's just kind of where we ended up.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So that was my first place living outside of my hometown. And that was very interesting for me because it was the very first time that I had to develop a community outside of what I knew for 20 years.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And then you eventually made the decision to jump over to Colorado.
Yeah.
You know, what's up. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, definitely. So after my partner got out of the military, we just kind of sat down and we're like, okay, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
Where are we going to go now? And we didn't want to go back to South Dakota. And my partner kind of tossed around the idea of going to New York. And I didn't really feel like that was for me at that time.
Okay.
Too far away from my family.
Yeah.
You know, even though I don't live at home anymore, my family's still very important to me. And I still have the necessity and the desire to see them on a, you know, at least a semi-regular basis, right?
Okay.
So New York wasn't really the place for me, so we kind of picked somewhere in between, and that ended up being Denver, right?
Wow.
So we spent a little bit of time back home visiting my family. You know, it just kind of took a little mini vacation.
Yeah.
And then we decided to hop on over here, and I think that as an adult, moving to Denver was probably the biggest struggle that I have ever had.
Wow, okay. But what made it extremely difficult for that?
So I moved here with my partner, my dog, my rabbit, in a 19-foot camper.
Wow.
And it was like a 1960s camper.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we hooked up.
Yeah.
My stepdad sold us this camper.
Okay.
We hooked it up to the back of our truck.
Yeah.
And we drove here. And so this camper was so old that we had a hard time finding a place that would actually let us park it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It wasn't up to code or what?
So it was so old and it was so small.
Oh, I see.
That these campgrounds were like, no,
wow.
we don't want your old tiny little trash camper in our.
Crazy. That is crazy.
It was I never expected that. It was so wild. I called all of these different places and they're like, 1960, nah,
What?
we don't take anything before 1995 or you know, like something crazy.
Wow, that is crazy.
We ended up finding a place that would take us down in Colorado Springs.
Oh, okay.
So that's where we actually ended up first.
Nice, okay.
So imagine this. Your significant other, your dog, that actually wears a diaper, by the way. My dog also wore a diaper. She was incontinent, right? And then a rabbit.
Yeah.
All of your belongings that you can fit inside of this 19-foot camper.
Yeah.
The oven didn't work.
Oh, man, okay.
The heater didn't work.
Yeah, wow.
There was no shower. It was just like a sink, a toilet, and a stove. No freezer.
Yeah.
No refrigerator.
What? Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And 19 feet isn't very big, right? So we were spending most of our time in bed.
Yeah.
So we're talking about eating in bed.
Right.
We're looking for jobs in bed.
Right.
We're looking for a place to live in bed. We were both still in school.
Wow.
So we're doing homework
Dang, it's
in
still
bed.
in school too, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez,
we were both still in college at this point. So we're doing homework in bed. You know, we're relaxing in bed.
Yeah.
And if we were disagreeing about something, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, just right there.
Yep.
Right? Whoa.
We're just right there in each other's faces. There was nowhere to go. We were just in bed all the time because that was the only place in our little tiny camper that we could be to do anything.
That's interesting. So during that whole time, now you look back at it, definitely, struggle. It was difficult to go through. During that time, were you thinking that it was extremely difficult, or were you just kind of going by, you know, the next day, just taking a day at a time. I mean, how was it at that time, as far as your mindset goes?
Oh man, it was horrible.
Oh, wow.
It was horrible. I did
Yeah.
not know if we were going to make it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When you're forced in a tiny little space with
Yeah,
somebody,
right.
you get on each other's nerves
That's the
real
ultimate
quick.
test right there, especially with couples, for sure.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
And we had been applying for jobs
Yeah.
and looking for places to live before we even got to Colorado Springs, and we weren't really having that much luck.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we're living off of our savings and our credit cards at this point
Right.
because we don't have a job, right?
Yep.
And I didn't know if we were going to make it. I'm
Right,
not
of
going to lie to you.
course. No.
Every day it was like, what are we going to do?
Right.
We don't have, we can't live here forever
Yeah.
because it's winter was coming. We moved in August and
Oh,
winter was
wow.
coming.
Oh.
So walking several blocks
Yeah.
to the community shower
Right.
when it's like 20 degrees outside.
Goodness, yeah, in the springs too.
Right. Like that just wasn't going to work.
Dang,
So
that's crazy.
it was a struggle.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I didn't know if we were going to like get a new job. I didn't know if we were
Right.
going to find a place to live. I didn't even know if we were going to make it as a couple
Right. Yeah.
because we were at each other constantly.
Wow. So no, that definitely sounds difficult. Very difficult. And you were feeling it at that time for sure. But obviously something changed. So I mean, when did you see that shift in, moving further or starting to see, things get a little bit better for you?
So it's really just about never giving up,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Gotcha.
It's really about your resilience at the end of the day.
Right.
If you want something, then you're going to get it.
Right.
If you try hard enough.
Yes. Yes. Nice.
No matter how hard things are, if you want it and you have the resilience and you have the mindset and you have the gumption in you
Right,
to go
right.
get it,
Yep.
you're going to get it.
Right.
It may take you heartache, it may take you pain, it may take you decades to get there.
Right.
But if you want it, you can have it.
Yep.
And that's really what it was for us, is like, we don't want to admit defeat.
Yeah. Right.
So, we would spend hours upon hours upon hours applying for jobs,
Right.
looking for a place to live. That's,
Yep.
we would spend a majority of our time doing so.
Right.
Until finally one of us was able to get a job.
Nice.
And so it was such a relief
Yeah,
when
I bet
that
it
finally
was.
happened.
Right. I mean, just that one step, one accomplishment kind of helped springboard the next steps that you're trying to reach.
Absolutely.
And while going to school too, that just that blows my mind. I couldn't imagine. Oh man. But that's very good to hear, that you were able to eventually get to that first step, because that first step, once you knock it down, you see that the other things are possible too.
Yeah, for sure.
So what occurred after that?
So I finally got my first job in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
And that was pretty difficult as well, because I'm living in my camper in Colorado Springs and my job is in Denver.
Right.
And I started, like, my shift started at like 6:15, 6:30 in the morning. So I'm getting up at 4, driving an hour or more
Right.
to Denver,
Yep.
depending upon how the traffic is.
Traffic. Yep.
Then working all day,
Right.
driving an hour plus back to my little tiny camper in Colorado Springs.
Right.
But I was just so grateful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would have taken any job
Yeah.
at that point,
Right.
because it had been several months and we were running out of money, right?
Yeah.
So I was just so grateful to take that first job there.
Nice.
And even though it wasn't necessarily the one that I wanted,
Right.
I was just so grateful to have it,
Yeah.
to finally have some income coming
Gotcha.
through. And that was just kind of the catalyst to the next steps.
Okay.
Once I got a job, I realized, okay, well, I've got this part down.
Yep.
So if I can survive this long Me and the other half haven't killed each other yet.
Right.
I'm not failing any of my classes in college at this point.
Right.
I finally have a job. So, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so from there, we were finally able to get a place to live.
Nice.
My other half was finally able to get a job himself.
Awesome.
And, we just kind of started picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
We started paying off our debts. We
Yeah.
started, moving in the right direction.
Right.
After,
Wow.
several months of stagnance.
Yeah. Wow. And I wouldn't even say stagnance. I mean, you guys were still pushing towards something, and just kind of moving as you could,
True.
forward.
True. Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, it kind of landed you guys into a position to where you can start, continuing, what your goals were in the first place.
Right.
And that's awesome. That is really awesome to hear. For sure. So at that point, you were establishing yourself in Denver. What would you say kind of led you from that point to become or be where you are at this point right now? So you got your place, and then you had your first job. Wasn't the job you're looking for, but then you did complete college at that point, or did you complete it a little bit after?
It ended up being several years later.
Oh,
so
okay.
it wasn't too, it feels kind of a long time now, but it actually wasn't that long ago that I ended up graduating with my degree in social psychology. So
Wow.
I graduated in 2018.
Oh, nice. Okay, 2018. I did not know that. Or did I? I should have known that. Okay, 2018.
Yeah, yep. So I graduated in 2018 with my degree in social psychology.
Okay.
Life was pretty overwhelming. So I wasn't going to school full time. I was just kind of like taking it in small chunks as I could.
Right.
I knew that I wanted to finish school, but I also needed time.
Gotcha.
Working full time at a job that wasn't really great for my mental health, to be honest with you.
Understandable. Yes. I
It left me with quite a bit of exhaustion,
Yeah.
and so I didn't really have the capacity. I didn't have the mental capacity to be going to school full time, so I kind of took it part time until I eventually graduated in 2018. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Well, congratulations
Thanks.
on graduating. During the tough times, there are jobs definitely that can put a strain on you, to where when you get off, you don't feel like doing anything else besides trying to enjoy your peace. And when you have a job like that, it's very difficult to kind of progress further too. So
Absolutely.
I hear you on that. Nice. And we met, during one of your, jobs as well. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And we kind of, we built a unique friendship, between, working and then the things that we've accomplished, while working together as well, which, we kind of bridged over to the nonprofit organization too. Which is pretty cool in my book. That's why I was excited to have you here. So, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of share about, your progress?
Yeah, so I do just want to throw it out there.
Okay.
I'm super grateful that I met you, for
nice.
sure.
Okay. I appreciate
One
that.
of the more tolerable people that I dealt with.
Well, the feeling's mutual, so thank you. Thank you very much.
For sure. I don't think that I would have made it as long as I did
Oh, okay.
in the position in which we work together
Yeah.
if it wasn't for you and a couple of, the other exemplary leaders.
Right. Nice.
They're when you find yourself in a difficult situation and in a toxic situation, it's so easy to become toxic yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of negative energy just sucks you in. It's kind of like a cancer, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm so grateful that you and a few others were just kind of like
Nice.
able to stick it out. And so that's kind of what kept me going for so long. And at the end of the day, that's also kind of what launched me forward into my new position.
Okay, good.
Because I realized that there was something better out there.
That's good.
For all of us.
Yeah, that's very good to hear, and I appreciate that a lot.
For sure.
We did go through quite a bit. I mean, there's definitely some aggressive times during working within that environment. Put
Yeah.
it that way. In that environment.
For sure.
That we're able to get out of. But from there, and I appreciate everything that you shared to this point. And I have a couple of questions for you
Yeah.
as well. So right now, looking back, right at the younger you, elementary, middle school, is there anything that you would want to share, or any advice that you would share with the younger you?
That's a good question. I would say don't let anybody stand in your way,
Okay.
because you're going to get there.
Yeah.
You're going to find your peace. You're going to find your happiness, and you have it within you
Yeah.
to you have it within you to get there. So don't let anybody stand in your way. Don't let anybody tell you anything else, because there have been a handful of times throughout my growth and development as a human in general where somebody has said something or has done something
Right.
to me that kind of like knocked me down,
Yeah.
if you will. And if I, just kind of had flipped them the bird
Yeah.
and ignored what they said or
Yeah.
what they did, who knows where I might be right now.
Right.
So don't let anyone tell you no.
I like that.
Just go after whatever it is that you want.
Yep. It's very, very strong. Because a lot of people do, let people get in their way, let them knock them down, make them discouraged on trying to accomplish certain things, with really anything that you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I agree with that. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot do the things that they are not willing to do themselves. So
For sure. Absolutely.
that's mighty strong there. So thank you for that as well. So any final thoughts or words that you would like to share with the audience?
I think that's really it, Billy.
Okay.
It at the end of the day, like I said, if you want it,
Right.
you can have it.
Yep.
It's yours. You
Right.
just got to be willing to put in the work for it.
Right, for sure. I mean, you definitely shared quite a bit today. A lot of really good information, a lot of good insight into, just keep on going and keep trying to get to where you want to be. And I think that's very important. It's a big staple into what we're trying to share with the audience. So thank you so much for sharing all of that information with us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got two options, right?
Yep.
You can either keep trying and keep moving ahead
Right.
and keep seeking whatever it is that you're looking for, or you can let your circumstances knock you down and you can just be miserable until you die.
Yes.
Who wants that?
Right, exactly. I could, you said it 100% correct. Yep. So there you guys have it. Becca Mendenhall in the building. Definitely a great person to know and share any good conversation that you guys want to have. She's very insightful. So definitely going to have her back again on the show. If you guys like what you heard today, let us know in the comments. Share the podcast as well, and let us know what you guys want to hear in the future. As always, you can catch us on a lot of streaming services: Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, even YouTube as well. You can subscribe to us and watch our content, and we are always looking for feedback and more people to be on the show as well, that are as awesome as Becca. And remember, like she said at the beginning of the episode, it is not about just the level of money that you made in your life that makes you successful. It's a small accomplishments that you build along the way to get you to where that you wanted to be. That's what's really important. That's what we want to hear on the show. We don't want the millionaires. I mean, millionaires are welcome, but we want to hear from the people that we can relate to about the things that they had to get through to get to where they are today. So that's what we have today. Thank you again. This is Billy Wayne once again with Becca, and we're signing out for the day, but thank you for joining us. See you guys soon.